Welcome to Martin Monday's Intentional Intimacy, where love, life, and legacy meet in the moments that matter most. Every week, I will share sacred reflections of my 30-year marriage before Martin's passing, as well as our life now without him. May these reflections help us live with more weight, warmth, and wisdom. Martin was a letter carrier by profession, but a life carrier by purpose. So let's take a moment and let intentional intimacy speak. Hello, this is Paula Hollis. Welcome to episode 19 of Martin Monday's Intentional Intimacy. I am just going to say that I think this lesson may really bless someone because the level of technical difficulties that I have had with getting this recording out to you kind of tells me that there must be something special. Yeah, there must be something special about this recording. So this is probably like the third time I've tried to do this. So let me do this and see if this can bless you real good. So the moment you are watching this, I am still in the state of Washington. I traveled across country from the Northeast to celebrate the 60th birthday of my nephew by marriage, Christopher Noel Hollis. And I came with Martin and some of his siblings and his niece. We came out here to celebrate Chris. And so I'm giving that backdrop just to let you know that in today's lesson, we're going to talk about legacy in real time. And I want to share with you what has happened and what has been transpiring for me while I'm here in Washington State. And so let's dive into this because I'm afraid this video might not work this time yet again. So let me just try and get this out. So, all right, here we go. Legacy in real time. A lot of times when we talk about legacy, people often always think things historical in hindsight, things that are past tense or memories. And let's not minimize. Yes, that's part of legacy. But there are actual portions of legacy that represent real-time moments if we will pause and if we're steady enough to see them and to observe them as they are happening. And so that is what really happened to me this weekend here in Washington State. So let me set the scene for you. First and foremost, like I said, I'm here celebrating Christopher's 60th birthday. And Martin and Chris were very close. They were only 4 years apart. And even though they were uncle and nephew, they were raised kind of more like heart brothers, right? And I think for Martin, that was very special because Chris gave him the opportunity to feel like that big brother because Martin was the youngest of his family. And so it's a very special relationship and bond that they had. And so I knew I had to be here to celebrate Chris because Martin, if he were still here, would definitely have been here. But what I realized sitting in that room was something actually very profound. The milestone of turning 60, Martin never reached that milestone. He passed away in November, and he would have turned 60 in January. The gravity of that hit me sitting in that room. But as I was also looking around that room, and I looked specifically at my niece, I'm like, wait a minute. Michael Red, who was Martin's truest oldest nephew, he passed away last year in February at 59. Michael would have turned 60 in June. And so the significance of two key family members both passing away on their 59th birthday, and here I am celebrating Chris, the milestone of his 60th birthday, it hit me. He's crossing a milestone that not everyone in his family got to experience. And that hit me real time in the room, that this is legacy in action, legacy in motion. The second thing that hit me in that room was the joy of the moment, right? And I often say that grief is a both and experience. I can't separate the joy from the pain, it all coexists together. And I saw that and I felt that with my nephew. I mean, yes, he was excited at this surprise party, seeing all the family members and friends locally, and then seeing us from across the country. Yes, it was extremely joyous. The expression on his face and the excitement, it was like he was a little boy again. And so I could feel that and I could experience that with him, but I also could experience the other side of the grief. Chris is the oldest son of Martin's oldest brother, Henry. And so I think I shared the other week that Henry passed away last year, November the 24th of 2024, which is also the same day, November the 24th, 2021, that Martin passed. And so for Chris, this was the 1 year anniversary just recently of his dad passing. And I knew, there was a lot going through his mind about that, turning 60, this milestone, not having his dad here, wondering what it's going to be like. He's been living out here on the West Coast for years. And, am I going to be able to see my family? Am I going to be able to celebrate with my family? I felt all of that. I felt all of that in the room in that moment, the joy of it, the pain of it, the anguish of it. That, yet again, legacy in real time. And then the third thing I felt in that room, though, amid the joy, amid the sorrow that was present, at the end of the day, I felt love. I felt love, because that's legacy too. When love shows up in the room, whether it's local love, whether it's long distance love, that is legacy. And so it's important for us to live legacy, not just from a historical perspective, but to live it in real time and to experience it in real time. And I'll reflect about that on the other side. Thanks. Okay, so let's reflect together. I have 3 key reflections that I'd like to emphasize. First is the awareness and the revelation that I received in that room, right? So, what caught me and what really grabbed me in that moment, real time, at the party, was realizing that I didn't have to look back to the party after the fact to realize what was really happening. I honestly could feel the weight of the legacy in the room, real time. It wasn't like days later, a week later, I looked back and said, oh, wow. No, I could see it, feel it, real time. And it was almost as if, God said, pay attention, Paula. This is significant. This is bigger than what you think. And it resonated very strongly with me in that moment, because I knew and I know that had my husband still been here, he would have been right in that room, smiling, taking it all in, living in that legacy moment. And so I had to sit in that and realize that no, legacy is happening real time. So that's my first reflection. My second reflection, I guess, is the fact that Legacy, like I've said in times past, is not just what you leave, it's also what you live. And it's not just what you live as an individual, it's also about the community and those that are around you and what they are living. Because legacy was real because of love showing up in that room. But for each and every one of us in that room, it was living legacy. Everyone has their different perspective, everyone has their different lane. But for every person, if we were willing to stop and assess what was happening for us at an individual level, we were all experiencing legacy. And I think that's the key. So often, so many times, we rush through life and we don't get to appreciate the moments. Legacy in that moment was love showing up. Legacy in that moment was the joy of a young man and his family and his friends. Legacy was, distance being eliminated, us crossing miles and multiple flights and almost missing connecting flights and, just all of that. It was the culmination of activity that needs to be remembered and it needs to be memorialized and assessed. It should not be ever just simply glazed over or minimized or ignored, because legacy in that moment was all about gathering. Who's gathering with you? Who are you gathering with, right? And so that was a key, that legacy is not just my individual lane, but legacy is a communal thing as well. So that was point number 2. And then I think the third reflection is what I'd like to invite you guys into. And that is, how are you going to carry this forward for yourself this week? So I strongly encourage you and invite you to really focus this week, and ask yourself a couple of key questions. All right. Now I wrote these down just so I don't forget them. So pardon me as I read them. So question number 1, where is legacy happening around you right now? Take an inventory of your life and look at where legacy is really happening for you right now. Question number 2, who is supporting you right now in this season? Take an assessment. It might not be who was supporting you before. You may have some new associates and friends and colleagues. So who is currently supporting you? Question number 3, who is currently loving on you? You have some supporters, you have those that are loving on you. Identify who those resources are. Question number 4, who has shown up for you in the quiet, the faithful, and the meaningful ways? What does that look like? Who are those people? Who's that squad? Who's that contingent of people that have shown up for you? And then the last question, who have you shown up for? Where are you being supported? Where are you being loved? Where are you being a faithful witness and a meaningful contributor to someone else's life? And so once you've done that inventory, I strongly encourage you to identify the person or persons, but send them a note. Tell them how much they mean to you, how much you appreciate who and what they are in your life. Honor that person, because at the end of the day, that is legacy, and it will strengthen what is seen in that moment. Make a legacy moment even then for that person. And so as I close, like I said, the party was very impactful for me. We had a great time dancing, celebrating, and enjoying family and friends. But it reminded me ultimately of something that is very profound, that some birthdays are milestones. Turning 60 is definitely a milestone. But then other birthdays are miracles, like other birthdays are miracles. So there's milestones, there's miracles, and then there's also memories. Chris's birthday was a combination of all of it. It's milestones, it was miracles, and it was memory. And so I am grateful to have experienced that. I am grateful to have been a witness to it. I didn't have to get it secondhand or through someone's social post. I could live it and allow it to be written on my heart because it is forever there, not just as a memory, but as a real-time experience. So I hope that you will do that. Have some wow moments this week and make some memories, some live legacy memory moments. And I'll catch you next week. Take care. Martin Mondays continues on Tuesday with the Tuesday Tea. Check it out and join me and take a sip. You know, Martin used to say a lot of things. Some were funny, some were wise, but one thing he often said was, wow. Wow. Just those 3 letters. It spoke volumes. It meant a lot. When he didn't know what to say, wow. When he was excited about something, wow. When he was confused, perhaps, or even frustrated, he said, wow. And you know, he's still saying wow. Through this bracelet, he's still saying wow because he's still saying, may your whole life prove that God is good. And so in closing, that's my hope for you this week. May you have wow moments as you too are living out legacy. Live in the wow. Live in the reality of knowing that your whole life is good. Live in the heartbeat of Martin Mondays and intentional intimacy. May that anchor you in this week as you build legacy, one wow, one moment at a time. See you next week.